Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. Hi, my name is Shani, I'm 25 and I live and work in London as a consultant. And if I sound a bit weird, I think I got some sort of like a flu or something like that, and I had a whole TikTok story about it, so I'll link my TikTok in the description box below. But yeah, I was like, no, I'm not going to allow this to mess up my days anymore, because yesterday it took over and I was ill for the whole day, couldn't move from bed, and I was like, we're not doing this anymore. We are not doing this anymore. But what we're talking about in today's video, so in today's video I wanted to talk about a topic that I haven't seen that many people mention here on YouTube or talk about, and this is moving between divisions within your organization. Maybe most of you know, which in consulting there's so many different disciplines, so you can be one day in corporate finance, you can be in mergers and acquisitions, you can be in obviously transactions the same, but like taxes, project management, anywhere. However, I know that a lot of these organizations don't quite encourage this transition. I know especially that's true for the Big Four. It's not as true for my organization, but I know that for the Big Four especially, it's very difficult to move between different areas of the business, if that makes sense. So if you're recruited within accounting, you can't quite go into consulting, so you're sort of like encouraged to stay where you are. This is a bit different in my company. I recently switched disciplines. Aim of the video is I want to give you my tips if you decide to pursue this, and if you decide to switch between disciplines, what should you do? So without further ado, let's jump into the video. So the first thing that I wanted to quickly mention is that my particular company is very supportive when it comes to switching between different disciplines, with the aim to explore a bit more about other areas of the business and how we can, I guess, contribute, but also see whether this is the thing for us. So they're not very restrictive. So if you're recruited in project management, with the right tactics, you can move to another area of the business. The other thing that I quickly want to mention, which is sort of like a disclaimer, is that I am still on the graduate scheme, and the aim of the graduate scheme is to rotate across the business or across different projects and find out what you really enjoy, with the aim to stay there for longer after the graduate scheme is done. So I'm doing this within the realm of the graduate scheme. It's almost like this is my safe, and this is one of the reasons why I really wanted to go and explore corporate finance. This is where I moved, because I wanted, if I hate it, I know that I'll probably stay there for like 3 months or 6 months and I'll be gone and I'll never come back again. Whereas if I had done it outside of the graduates, it's a bit more permanent change. So I didn't want to take that risk. That's why I decided to do it in the grad scheme. See what I like it. If I hate it, I would have just moved to something else or come back to project management. So let's jump into the things that I did and the things that I learned whilst I was going through this process, similar stuff. So tip number one, which is the obvious one, is identify where do you want to go. So let's say you're in accounting and you want to go into tax. Like, identify the area that you want to move in. It's so important, because this obviously, like, this will be the thing that will drive your whole moving process in every single step afterwards. So it's very important to know this area. And if you're not sure, if for example you're sure that you definitely want to move from where you are, but you don't know which area you want to move into, identify, like, map out a few areas and have this. My second tip: communicate with your manager. So in my organization, we have people manager who is looking after my personal development, and he's completely independent from my line manager on the project, who is the person that I report in terms of my work. This person is such an important figure because they will drive your development. So if you've mentioned to them, hey, look, I really want to explore taxes, or I really want to explore corporate finance, they would have this at the back of their mind and they would tell you what you need to do next. But you should remember that you should be driving that process. But their approval is needed in order for you to progress further. My third tip is identify people who have already done this transition. There are always people who have moved from one discipline to another. After you have identified these people, organize calls with them and ask them what was their journey like, what was the process that they had to go through, how difficult it was, how did they find the transition, what they enjoy in the role that they were in, and what they're enjoying right now, but also what they're not enjoying as well. Like, just get a comprehensive view of their experience and maybe try to take away things that they've done or methods that they have implemented in order to take them to where they are. My fourth tip is start talking with people in that targeted department. Start talking with people who are on your level. So let's say you're a graduate and you're moving to corporate finance, as I did. I literally had to go and identify people who are also graduates and ask them what they're doing, what projects they're working on, what's their level of responsibility, what they enjoy about the role, what they don't enjoy about the role, their managers, their overall like management, everything. Like I just had these calls, and I had these calls with not only one graduate or two graduates. I think I had these calls maybe like 4 or 5 graduates. Like I went through every single one in this whole discipline, and that really helped me understand from different perspectives what sort of work I can expect, what sort of level of business I can expect, and it really made me think, do I really want to pursue this further? So it's very important to understand from someone who's on your level how they're seeing the role and how they are enjoying the role as well. Next tip is to really understand whether it's possible for you to move. It was possible for me to move because, as I mentioned, I was in a graduate scheme. My 6 months rotation was coming to an end, and I had to find another project and express interest that I want to go into corporate finance. So things just work out. But you need to find out first of all whether there is opportunity for you to move into your desired department. Are they looking for people? Do they need resources? What's the level of demand for people they need? Are you the right talent for them? And all of this comes with conversations from your desired department side to speak with the person who is responsible for resources for that department in general. But you just need to know the right people. And I've heard this from so many places that you just need to have the right people behind your back supporting the transition. Start a network, start talking to people. It doesn't matter that they're like the big manager or the CEO or whatever it is. You need to go and make a path for yourself, and you need to talk to the right people, because it's all about talking to the right people and networking. And trust me, the right people will take you to the place that you want to go, but it's all about having their support. My next tip is that if you're in a graduate scheme, but even if you're not in a graduate scheme, you need to keep your managers in the loop with your conversations. In my organization, there are people who are literally managing my graduate scheme who are completely outside of my people manager, of my project manager, of all of that. They're sitting in a completely different space, and all they're responsible for is managing my graduates. So I would just encourage you to keep them in the loop when you have the different conversations when you're talking with the different people. Keep them in the loop, and keep them in the loop also of what your interests are, what steps you're taking, because more often than not, sometimes they would look for a placement for you if you can't do it yourself. So keep them in the loop, keep them updated with what's happening with your progress, with your interests. As I mentioned, like usually they're very supportive in finding you the right place. And then I guess the final stage is organize a transition. Have a conversation again with your people manager, have a conversation with the managers that you're going to work with, ensure that everybody's happy with the agreed timings of when you're moving, when you'll be finishing eventually. Make sure that you have check-in points with your original discipline. So for example, for me, that was project management. Ensure that, they're kept in the loop with your progress. Ensure that you are honest with them in terms of whether you enjoy, whether you don't enjoy, because obviously, like, when you move into something else, it's easy to sort of like cut the connections, if that makes sense. But please don't do it. Like, make sure that you still staying connected with your original discipline. I'm saying this in the realm of if you're doing it within a graduate scheme. Make sure that you're still staying within your home discipline. That's a little bit of my experience and what I've learned throughout the process. I would say that it was definitely a very, very, very lengthy process. It wasn't just one conversation, just like jumping from one conversation and being like, yeah, I can do it. It was months. I started having my conversations in November and I switched in May. So I just want to quickly talk about my experience. I moved beginning of May, and just for context, if you've seen my previous videos, I absolutely love project management, and I feel so aligned with the discipline, with the work that I'm doing. I felt so aligned the way that my strengths are being used within project management, and especially in the project that I was working on. I loved it, and I did my first project for 8 months actually. It stretched a little bit, but I was rejoiced. I loved my first rotation of my graduate scheme in my company. Honestly, I just sort of like, I'm giving this for context so that I can tell you what's happening next. That was sort of like my first rotation. Absolutely loving it, absolutely loving the people that I was working on, growing so much. My confidence was growing, my knowledge, my experience, everything was like going up and up. And then I switched in May. I really wanted to explore corporate finance because I've always sort of like been in a way passionate about it, and I thought that I would really enjoy this sort of work as well. And corporate finance is completely different level of work. There is no even like a way to compare it to project management. It's completely different set of skills. It's almost as if I'm developing as a business analyst rather than a project manager. But that's okay, because this is what the graduate scheme is for you to explore different areas of the businesses and find out what you're really good at and what you really want to do full time after you finish the grad scheme. So I moved in May, and you know, it's interesting. It's just very interesting. I have a feeling that it's still very early days and I really need to give it a chance, but I think I've really identified for myself that I'm definitely a project manager. Like, this is honestly in my blood. Like, I just thrive under pressure, being super busy, like this sort of thing. And that my role right now, it's very analytical in terms of we have to do a lot of research, we have to do a lot of like reading of different annual reports and financial figures and stuff like that. And I do enjoy like the financial side of it, but it's just like there is sometimes so much textual analysis, if that makes sense. But I just don't think that I can see my career going that way, and that's completely fine. And I absolutely don't regret a second of pursuing this and moving to this discipline, because I would have always questioned, what if? I'm actually super excited to move back to my discipline after a few months. When that comes, I will be making the most out of where I am right now. And I mean, this year, something that I've been learning this year is that I always say in every single one of my videos, but here is holy, and where the Lord is placing you, there is purpose in that. Sometimes the reason why he places you there could be just, you know, like, I don't know, just to try to teach you to lean onto him. And that's definitely something that I think he's teaching me this season, and that's completely okay, because I definitely need his strength every single day to do the job, because it's different to what my strengths are, and but that's okay. You know, there is fruit in every season. So yeah, that's a little bit about my experience. Such a sweet learning journey, and just finding out about yourself and learning, and it's all growth, and it's all trusting the Lord along the way. But yeah, so this is a little bit of what I've been going through in the past couple of weeks. It's been good. It's definitely good, because if you're not squeezed in different seasons, something is wrong. So I'm glad that I'm getting squeezed and I'm leaning on the Lord. I hope the video was helpful. I hope that, you know, I just want to end the video by saying that the grass is not greener on the other side. It just is not. You know, like, pour the water where you at and look after your little garden. Patient, because at the right time everything will happen. Hope the video was helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you've switched between like roles within your company, or if you're in a grad scheme, whether you want to switch or whether you've thought about that. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.